what's up? My name is Jimena, and today we're going to be talking about ocean pollution. And this video is actually a lot different than any video that I've filmed before. So I just wanted to let you guys know this is a collaboration with one of my good friends, Daryn, who his Twitter at is here in case you guys want to follow him. But we decided to make this video a while ago, and then when we filmed it, it ended up being a very long podcast-like video. So we asked you guys on Twitter and Instagram if you wanted an hour-long video or two half-an-hour-ish long videos, and so you guys voted that you wanted two half-an-hour-long videos, so this will be the first part of that. And so let us know if you would like us to possibly start a podcast. Let us know your opinions on that, because we really honestly enjoyed filming this so much, and we just had a great conversation, and we are open to it. But let us know what you guys think down below in the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you know when I upload on this channel. So anyways, without further ado, let's just get into the content, because this is a long video.
All right, so I'm recording it now. So, all right, Yat Eshe Daryn Unishya. Hello, my name is Daryn. That was my greeting in Navajo. I'm a sustainability student at Arizona State University, and I'm here with Patty Cruz to talk about the plastic marine debris in the ocean and different things about how that's affecting like marine life and then ultimately the food chain and everything.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit depressing, but we'll try to make you laugh.
It's super sad, but we'll have jokes.
Yeah. So do you want to start it off?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but the most famous gyre, which is like where the plastic kind of like congregates, is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. But that's actually two separate garbage patches. Sorry, and that's in the North and Pacific Oceans, and they kind of like congregate together. And majority of that washes up onto Hawaiian shores, but the plastic comes from the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Russia, a lot of Asian countries, and Australia. And so, but there's four gyres like that. So there's one in the North and South Pacific, which is the one I just talked about, the North and South Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, and the West Wind Drift, which is the Antarctic circumpolar current.
Yeah, but what sucks is now that China is not taking our plastic anymore, like, where do you think it's gonna go?
I know, literally. And like a lot of people,
Nobody's talking about it.
I know. And I feel like it was a big thing on Twitter just for like a minute. And then like that was it. And the thing about Twitter or just social media in general, which is like really depressing, is like when it comes to issues affecting the environment and stuff, they don't get as much traction as say like something that's going on with like the Kardashians or some like scandal that's in like the media. Like it's like people don't care about the environment, and I think it's because we're so disconnected from it, and we think of ourselves as separate when we're actually like one. Which is actually kind of my thesis topic for the spring. It's like how we can reintegrate with nature. Um, but I think that also stems from being disconnected from our food systems, because people, when they think of food, they think of the grocery store, but they don't think of like growing your food and where it actually comes from. And so I think that kind of adds to the problem, you know?
Yeah, like I've met a lot of city people that are just like, oh, I can't go out in nature. Oh, I don't know how you do your job. Like, oh, I could never do that. And it's like, dude, I'm literally just outside. Like,
And
you should
it's like,
try it sometimes. Like, people can't work without a freaking AC.
I know. Well, in Phoenix, we kind of
Okay,
have
that's
that.
different.
But
You're in a hotter climate though.
it's kind of but I totally understand what you're saying, because like what a lot of people don't realize is that we actually live in nature. And I don't remember the figures, but it's I think it's like 70% of the American population lives within a 10-minute walk of a natural area, but most people don't go.
Yeah.
It's not even that, because like when I lived in Texas, there was like this nice park. There was like it was like a state park, or maybe not a state park. It was kind of just like a community park in general. But when you would go to the park, you would drive in through the woods, and then it was just like you felt like you weren't in the city. And so I think those type of areas will kind of help people feel more connected with it. But we kind of have to start teaching kids that like we're part of it and not separate, because I feel like the way that we teach kids definitely has a problem with that. And then that also transcends into like the oceans, because people don't realize where our plastic is going, and like majority of recycling centers in the US can't actually recycle the types of plastic that we have. So even though you're throwing stuff into the recycling bin, it's actually going into landfills or getting into rivers, which lead to the ocean.
Yeah, and especially since China isn't taking our garbage anymore, which they were supposed to only be taking recycling, but they were sneaking in like not recyclable things, just like pure garbage. And that's why they started sending it back, because they realized like we can't do anything with this. You're just sending us literal garbage. And so they finally decided we're not doing that anymore. We're not taking anyone's trash anymore. And they just started sending it back. But like, what sucks also about all the beach cleanups is, yeah, oh my gosh, you got all the trash out of the ocean, but now it's going into the landfill.
Exactly. Like, and so one thing I feel that is a good alternative to landfills is it's something that Oahu is doing in Hawaii. So actually research it. It's called H power. And so they basically incinerate their trash for electricity, which is
Okay.
because you know the fumes and everything that come from that. But I don't know the specific technology, but I remember in one of my classes we were reading up on it because there's ways to incinerate the trash, but also filter out the air so the emissions don't go into the atmosphere.
Mm.
So I think if you were to combine both of those, it can help mitigate against the I call it the ocean crisis because of like, you know, we're losing a lot of species because of this. Um, and I think that is one way to address it. Obviously, we have to reduce our plastic consumption, and like these companies need to stop using plastic. But I think a lot of people are too scared to hold themselves accountable for the plastic that they use, and so everybody shifts blame onto companies. And like, yeah, corporations are bad. We all know that, but like our individual choices are also making them grow. And so basically they're like they're meeting the demand, so we're demanding that we need this stuff, and so they're going to continue to make it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, like that's what pissed me off. So like there's this one YouTuber that I used to follow on Instagram, and she did a brand deal, which like I get it, like YouTubers do brand deals, like, you know, that's how you get money, whatever. But what she was advertising was Neutrogena single-use makeup wipes.
Oh my god.
Like the amount of plastic that's gonna create, because I've seen those packages at Ulta. They have like 20, like just one makeup wipe, like 20 pieces of plastic plus the bag that it comes in. And it's like, you're like, there's people that are promoting this. It's
Right.
promoting the materialism, and they're driving more people to go to the stores and buy these things when they don't really need them. Like instead we should be like focusing on doing like bulk stuff or like reusable packaging or package free. Like, but then when that starts getting really popular, people start hating on it, like how people are hating on vegans because there's like one or two extreme people. They're hating on like zero waste people and all of that stuff because they're like, do you shower, do you do this, do you do that, what do you use for toilet paper? And it's like, you're literally missing the point.
Literally. And like I so one of the things that I actually read is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like it's a big thing in American culture, which is kind of how ghosting came into play. Is we view people as disposable now. And the reason why we do that is because we're so used to having such like a disposable culture. Like we can just go grab coffee from Starbucks and throw the plastic cup away. We can have food takeout and just throw the stuff away. And so we have such disposable lives now that it's also transcending into the way that we treat people, which
Mm.
I think is also a big thing in terms of like the how we can break the cycle of, I guess, disposable culture in a way, you know what I mean? But like not
Like,
even just people, but just like the plastic in general, because like even with some people that I know, they would rather buy disposable utensils than just use the ones that we have at that, like not we, but the ones that they have at home. That way they don't have to wash dishes. Like some of my friends are like that, and I'm just like, why? Like you can literally just, if you just rinse them off, put them in the dishwasher, you're fine. And it only takes like 10 minutes to hand wash them. It's not that big of a deal. But it's just people are lazy sometimes, you know, and I think like that's a problem. But I think it also has to do with the fact that, okay, actually what I was trying to say. So building on this, because I literally lost my train of thought. But
okay, you got it.
yeah. One of the things that I think is a big problem is that like the growing wealth gap. So like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And so I think like it's hard for low income and marginalized communities to really make environmentally conscious decisions if they can't even meet their basic needs, you know? So it's like if they don't have access to healthcare, or they don't have enough funds to like for housing, or if they live in a food desert, they're not going to care about the like the what am I trying to say? Like what their individual choices will cause, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus wealthier communities and wealthier people do. And one thing I've noticed on social media is a lot of like wealthy people, or people who are more affluent, they tend to talk down on lower income and marginalized communities because of these choices. But it's like, it's not their fault that they can't worry about these things when they're just trying to, sorry, when they're just trying to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like this is literally the last thing that they're thinking of. Like all they're trying to do is pay their bills and make sure that they can feed their kids. And it sucks because like everything, like to make it like sustainable, like package free as much as possible and all of that, like you have to literally make your food from scratch. And like it's easier said than done.
I know, like even now, like just as a college student and working, like it's hard for me to make my food. I make time for it, but it's like I can only imagine like a mom with 3 kids trying to support a household, like literally trying to cook and all that stuff. Like that's so difficult. And so like I feel like if we were to go down to like a 4-day work week and income were to go up, it would be a lot easier for people to make these decisions, you know? But we also advertise so much disposable food and like all these different things that it's just like, it's not good for the environment. But then that goes back to the fact that we just view ourselves as separate from the environment, and we don't realize that the things that we do to the earth systems are going to affect us. But people don't seem to realize this, and it's like, it's very problematic.
Honestly, like if we could get more industry on it, that would be great. But that means that we need a cultural shift because people have to be demanding of that stuff in order for it to happen. Like the Impossible Burger, that's what it's called, right? Or Beyond Burger from like Burger King.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if there wasn't such a rise in veganism, then that wouldn't have happened because no other fast food chain has started to do that.
So that's like what we were talking about on Twitter with one of my mutuals on Twitter, is that a lot of people don't want to hold themselves accountable, which that's a perfect example, because people demanded that they need like what is it called, like plant-based meat options. And so since so many people were demanding of it, they answered to those demands. So if we were to like, I guess, denounce plastic and reduce the amount of stuff that we're buying, companies will start to change that, because at the end of the day, all they care about is making their money, and that's never going to change. But we can change the way.
Children. Sorry, my cat just did a backflip.
No, you're good.
We'll check it out.
But I think that that's something that like needs to change, and like I do have hope for it, especially like at my school. So like Arizona State, I think we have the first first school of sustainability like in the country, and we have one of the top sustainability centers. I think it's like the Wrigley. I know it's Wrigley something, and it's like something sustainability, but I know that that's one of the big ones in the U.S. But they offer like BA and BS in sustainability, and then you can also do like a business track, so like you can learn how to run a business sustainably, and then like there's also ways for you to integrate social science with that, so like you can make the cultural shift like you're saying. And I think those type of things are pretty good, because I think that we need to make more sustainable choices, like in all like sectors, you know what I mean, like in everything that we do. And one thing is like, I'm a server at a resort, and like it's so annoying because, so first we switched from plastic straws to paper straws, which is good because, you know, everybody wants to get rid of plastic straws, even though they only make up 1% of plastic marine debris. But I'm literally for getting rid of plastic straws because we just need to get rid of plastic altogether. But I think that like, and that's another thing, is everybody was so demanding to get rid of them that companies are answering that. But like at my job, we just have disposable cups. So it's like every time, like I probably throw away like on a busy day, like 400 or 500 plastic cups. And it's just like, and we don't recycle. And I'm like, why do we do this? Like, why can't we just have reusable cups? And like at my old, the other resort I worked at before I transferred to this one, we had reusable silverware, like silverware, and then we had reusable cups. So it was like all the drinks came out in plastic cups, but they were not disposable. So then we would just wash them and reuse them. So that was already a big reduction in like disposable plastic consumption. Versus at my job, we have disposable utensils, disposable plastic cups, and it's just like, why do we do this? Like, there's no need for it, you know. And even from a business standpoint, you're going to spend more money on disposable plastic cups consistently buying them versus just spending a lot like spending a good chunk of change up front on reusable cups and then saving money in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then businesses don't always think like that, which is
I
like
know.
so annoying because you're making an investment. And but then like also their water bill would go up. So maybe like that's another thing.
That's
But
actually
they just don't think it through because in the long run, like we're gonna end up living in a literal dumpster because where else is our garbage gonna go?
literally. And like what I think a lot of people don't realize is with the way that things are going, like species are going to die off in the ocean, which is going to cut like the food supply that we get from the oceans like drastically. Like I think fish stocks are supposed to collapse by 2050 because of the way that we're overfishing and the way that they're getting impacted by plastic marine debris. And like one of the big things is that like top apex predators are getting targeted. So like shark finning, for example, our shark populations are declining a lot, and so if they decline to a point that they cannot regulate the amount of smaller fish that are around, those populations are gonna grow, which are very very harmful to coral reefs, and then they can cause algae blooms and all these different things. And it's just like there's a lot of things that people don't realize that are happening because of these one choices that we're making for like to harm wildlife, and then the plastic pollution that is in the oceans. Because like the Hawaiian monk seal, for example, I think they are one of the most endangered pinniped species, and they are one of the pinniped species that is the most harmfully affected by plastic because they're on the I can't remember the name. It's like the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, but it's a national park. But I cannot remember the actual like name because it's Hawaiian, and I would try to say it, but I don't want to butcher the word. But like Midway Atoll, they tend to be on it. Midway Atoll is one of the dirtiest beaches in the world because all the plastic washes up. And the last documentary I watched on it, there was like a computer from like 1960 that washed up there, and like that's just shows how long these things stay in the ocean. And there's been pictures of like Hawaiian monk seals that are like wrapped up in plastic who have died in the ocean because they can't swim, or there's sharks who get stuck in it and they can't swim and they die because sharks have to continue to swim in order to breathe. Um, there was like a video of this whale shark off the coast of Baja California who divers had to go in and like cut off fishing net because it got stuck on it and it couldn't get up to breathe because it was so heavy. And like the amount of I guess fishing gear that ends up in the ocean is really high. Like I wrote it down here just so I can have it. Oh, so the fishing industry dumped roughly 135,000 tons of plastic fishing and 23,000 tons of packaging. I think in like the late 1900s, and so those figures are predicted to have doubled since then.
Oh,
And that just shows like how bad this is getting, you know. And then it's not even just plastic, like human waste is like another problem because like cruise liners, for example, they make up 1% of the ocean fleets, but they are responsible for over 25% of ocean pollution.
oh my God. Have you seen the Patriot Acts episode on that?
I
Like who's
haven't. I was actually just watching a video on Twitter where he was talking about the student loan debt, but I want to watch that.
yeah, he talks about the cruise liners and how like literally they're out in the ocean. So even the figures that we have, there's no way to say that that's like 100% for sure the figures that are real because like they're out in the ocean, they're in international waters. Like they could basically do whatever they want and not report it. So they're only like honestly reporting part of like the problem. And like,
Exactly.
the same thing with like the fishing industry is like, yeah, we have all of these numbers of like this amount of bycatch that they collect and this and that, but at the end of the day like they're probably not telling us everything because
Literally. And I feel like that's a lot of like corporations that are doing that too. Like they're probably only like admitting a certain amount of things, but there's a lot of stuff that goes under the radar like that they're not gonna like what am I trying to say? That they're not gonna say because they don't want to get in trouble, you know what I mean? Or they don't want to face public backlash, which they deserve because they're fucking up the planet. And so I feel like these are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And it's like you said, it's going to take like a culture shift, but I also think it's going to have to make a shift in the way that, like, make a shift in business practices. You know what I mean? Because the way that we do things now aren't going to work. The way that things, because the things that we do now are the way that things were done since the Industrial Revolution, and like that needs to change because the Industrial Revolution was the start of the Great Acceleration, and that's why now I think we're in the, is it the fifth mass extinction event?
Six.
The sixth?
Oh, no, fifth. Yeah, fifth.
The fifth mass extinction event, and like a lot of people don't even realize that we're in that, and like people don't even know what that means, and like it's basically like humans are killing the planet, and we're killing off species at such a high rate that they're dying in masses, and it's like people don't pay attention, like, and it's so depressing because these are issues that are going to affect us.
Then there's like the percentage that don't hear about it, and then there's a percentage that hear about it and don't give a shit. I
Exactly.
forced myself to watch Fox News
Oh my
for like I literally only watched like a 5-minute clip. This was when they were talking about Bill Nye and the video that he made for John Oliver. And oh my God, like literally the stupidity. He was talking about like, oh yeah, Bill Nye's saying all of this. And then like his co-host was saying, oh, but didn't you hear the report that they said about the next mass extinction? And he's like, oh yeah, I care about that for my puppy. Like, I don't want my puppy going extinct. And it's like, dude, really?
Yeah,
Like,
it's super stupid, and I feel like that stems from like this settler colonial mentality because what what tended to happen is like colonizers came over here, which is European Americans. Their ancestors came over here, specifically the ones from Spain and France and England. And so when they came over here, they just started using the land that they did over there. And so they were just taking pieces of land, they were killing species off in the masses because instead of adapting, what they were doing is they were trying to alter the environment to meet their needs instead of altering their lives to meet the environment needs. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So that's something that we need to change because like Phoenix is a great example. So like Phoenix is one of the hottest places in the world for one. Two, we are the most at risk for water scarcity, but we get 50% of our groundwater, 50% of our water sources from groundwater sources, and then the rest of it from the Colorado River Plateau. But when it comes to water rights, I think we're the third state because at first it's the number one is tribal rights are the number, or tribal nations are the first one with water rights, so like the Navajo Nation, Gila River Nation, Salt River Nation, the Hopi Nation, White Mountain Apache, San Carlos Apache, and there's a couple other ones in Arizona that Thanawatham, and I can't remember those. So, and then the ones in California, the ones in Nevada, Colorado, like they all have first water rights. And then it's California, which your populations are super high. So if water gets really, really low there, like Arizona's screwed over. You know what I mean? And we waste so much water on golf courses and resort pools and pools in general and car washes. And it's like all these different things. And then that just goes to show that we're literally just using the environment in any way that we want to, specifically to meet our needs. But we need to change the way that we do things to meet the environment's needs. You know what I mean?
yeah. And you know, like why Arizona is actually the third in line? They literally traded it, like they could have been first in line because hello, like it is within their territory, but they chose not to so they could build a dam.
Of course.
In exchange for that dam, they said if anything happens, like we will give up part of our water first, just for the dam.
That's so
Like,
dumb.
that was literally their logic on that.
There's a lot of like just Arizona is just there's a lot of regulations that are really dumb. Like one of the things that I don't know if it passed or not, but I remember there was like lawmakers in some town in southern Arizona. They were trying to get rid of the regulations for groundwater because they wanted to just use as much as they wanted for different things. And it's like what the thing that I don't think people realize is that the more groundwater you take out, the land is gonna sink, and like that's already happening in like the Central Valley in California. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
people just don't realize this. And I was telling my friends about this because they were like, "Oh yeah, groundwater is fine. Like we refill it." And I was like, "We don't refill it." I was like, "When we get rain, it refills, but Arizona only gets masses of rain like once a year. Like so that's not enough to continuously keep refilling it for one." And I was like, "And two, I literally forgot where I was going with that." But yeah, that's one of the problems. And like, but what I don't think people realize is all of this affects the oceans. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everything affects the oceans, and people think that because we live so far inland that their decisions aren't going to affect the oceans, but they do. like everything we do affects them, you know?
Yeah, and like what's crazy is we know more about outer space than we know about our ocean here on Earth. Like that covers like 70% of the globe.
See, and I think like that also goes that has to do with like the settler colonial mentality, because these like I think NASA was the first ones right here that were trying to do that started exploring space. It was like them and then another country, but I think it has to do with the fact that like these settlers and colonizers, they think that they can just go and take anything they want. So like they're going into space to look for another planet to colonize and all these different things, instead of just like trying to take care of the planet we have now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with it, but the way that we teach history, it shows otherwise. So like colonizers are like made out to be like these good people, even though they did so much bad. And like a great example of this is there was one of my Twitter mutuals who was just in town. They interviewed me for a podcast, and so they were in the Dakotas. So they went to the site where the Battle of Little Bighorn happened, and there's like a museum there. What they were telling me is that the museum was super sympathetic to Custer, and they had a really tiny area for the natives who got killed, and like that was it. And I was like, but Custer was like literally a murderer. Like he killed innocent women and children for no reason. And so, and I think like that's one of the reasons is they're made out to seem like they're these people who were like did great things. And like that's why a lot of, and I hope I don't offend anybody through this, but a lot of the things were done in the name of the church. And that is something
Honestly.
I think affects everything. And I don't talk about it on Twitter a lot because religion is such a very like touchy subject for people. And like I'm not religious, but I have a lot of opinions on it. But I don't like to disrespect people's beliefs unless they violate other people's rights or my rights. Then I will say something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of underlying problems that like affect this, which is why it's like a wicked problem, because there's so many different things that we have to change to fix the system. And like it's going to be really difficult to do, but I have faith in our generation, and I feel like we definitely can make these changes, you know?
Yeah. Especially like once we get the baby boomers,
Oh
like
yeah,
they go on, I feel like things will get better
I
because
definitely
they're literally the anchor that's holding us down right now.
literally like I wish I could pull up this tweet. There was somebody who made like a really 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 like long thread about it and was like literally shooting out like spilling the tea and pulling up the receipts for like everything that baby boomers have done that's brought us to this point. But yet they're the ones that are so quick to talk about our generation and like put us down and all these different things. And I'm like, we're trying to fix the mess that y'all created.
Exactly. Like we're literally the freaking cleanup crew. Like if we don't clean it up, who else is going to?